Commissioner Berman and Secretary Petty, excuse me, a little bit about the Columbia Basin project. But and I wasn't going to do this, but it came up, so I want to respond a little bit. Some people probably think that Mr. Simpson and I have an ongoing conflict. It's true, there are potatoes in Idaho, but there are great potatoes in Washington as well, and I always have to remind them of that. However, the whole notion of looking at the Columbia Snake River system in a holistic manner in order to prioritize salmon is something that we're all interested in. And I want to have that conversation on how to address the many challenges that we have in that river system, even the spill of water from the Idaho dams. You know, we do. Mr. Simpson's absolutely right. We invest a ton of money into that system every year. But we've seen a lot of good results as well, and improved habitat, improved passage at the dams, the tremendous amount of work on the turbines and their efficiency and the high passage rate, survivability rate of the salmon through those. We're working on the predators issues, the forced spill thing, which the jury's still out on that as far as I can tell, but we're looking at different things in order to increase salmon survivability. All that being said, there were intentional decisions made, if you look back in history in the state of Idaho, that salmon were not welcome. So when they get through all the dams through the Columbia and the Snake River in Washington, guess what? Through much of the system, they run into a concrete barrier because spawning salmon just don't want to take a hook, and they wanted trout. So decisions were made way back in history. So I admit we've got challenges, but I think through positive conversations we can meet those challenges and come up with solutions so that the proof is that dams and salmon can coexist, and I think we're living that, and we're proving that every day. Can we do better? Absolutely, but I think we can. I think we will. But I do want to talk a little bit about the Columbia Basin project as well. But first, just start by saying, Commissioner Berman, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job leading the Bureau, and I'm really grateful to have such an enthusiastic partner in advocating for water needs, not just in the Pacific Northwest, but all over the west of the United States. You're thoroughly engaged, you're responsive to questions that we've been bugging you with over the last few years. I appreciate that. It really does make a difference when we have somebody that on the front line that recognizes how valuable of a resource water is to all our rural communities, and such a critical component to our economy, our growth, and our prosperity. So thank you. Thank you very much. We don't get to say that very often. Mr. Petty, for your efforts as well. Both of you know the Columbia Basin District, the project in my district well, particularly the importance of something that's, I think, has captured the attention of the chair of the committee, the Odessa Groundwater Replacement Program. I've discussed it many times, and I'm pleased to have Chairman Capter's interest in this as well. What I'd like to ask both of you today is to share with me some insights that I could bring back to my community members in my district. Something I often share with them when they come to DC, make the trip to talk about these issues, is the importance of speaking with one voice. You know, the federal government is vast. The bureaucracy is sometimes confusing even to us, right? It can be burdensome. And so I believe it's critical that when farmers or local elected officials or water advocates or community leaders come to DC, that their message be singular and unified. I don't want to provide you the answer I'm looking for, but when we have these tremendous advocates from the Pacific Northwest come, and the partnerships between organizations like the Columbia Basin Development League, the Washington State Department of Agriculture, collaboration of the Office of Columbia River, the Regional Bureau of Reclamation offices, and so on. These partnerships and collaboration is what will move the ball forward in this important effort, at least in my humble opinion. So just like to ask you guys to share your thoughts on the importance of ensuring a unified vision amongst these many shared entities.
Yeah, let me kick that off, Congressman. Thank you so very much. And the important part of just how the Columbia plays into each of the different regions, and specifically into your region. The whole Columbia Basin and the Snake come through your district, and you know it better than anyone on all these systems that come through. But one of the key parts that I just want to highlight is the importance of the relationship between the Army Corps, Bonneville, and Reclamation and Interior as a whole. And it's the interaction that we get all the time, including the draft EIS, the Army Corps, we designated as that one federal lead so that we could work through it together. And it was the importance of, if we don't all succeed individually, kind of we all end up hanging together. And so with the Army Corps being able to be right there in the front, making sure that all the science, all the decades of work that we've put in to develop these different areas, all the way down to Odessa, the need for surface water as well as subsurface water is critical, and including working with your state and the local state water districts as well. Those are all incredibly important areas. So I'll let the commissioner kind of finish off any thoughts that she has as well. But thank you.
I'd just like to draw attention to the witnesses. We have been called for votes, and we think it's a series of this first vote and then another. So Commissioner Berman, if you could briefly summarize. And we have another member who has come in and is waiting to question.
Of course. I'll just agree with everything Dr. Petty said, and moving forward with the one federal decision model has been very, it's been great for all of us just to be able to talk things out and move forward. On the Odessa project, it's so important. It is designed to help rural communities in eastern Washington. And it's locally driven. The state is a partner. The district is a partner. We're a partner. We're all moving forward. And that project is, we're hoping we be delivering water this year.
The importance of having a single voice coming to DC, you would agree, is something we have to have too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The gentleman's time has expired. Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz.